Please. Barbara Ellis. Dr. Ellis. Pledge.
Would you please stand and join me?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right.
Call roll, please.
Ms. Clodfelter?
Here.
Ms. Nyworth?
Here.
Ms. Edwards?
Here.
Ms. Bradley?
Here.
Mr. Jester?
Here.
Colonel King?
Here.
Okay. Mrs. Ellis, do we have any special guests or special recognitions?
We have a special recognition tonight, and I would like to invite Colonel King to join me at the podium. It's all yours.
Thank you very much. Well, this is the first time that I've gotten to, I guess, get up here and give a little speech, so I'm going to take a few moments of your time. The reason I'm here today is I had the opportunity to talk with Dr. Deegan before he left and thank him for everything that he did for our community, to include, you know, the children that attend the Lawton Public Schools. But what I didn't get the opportunity to do, because someone wasn't at the meeting, was to thank Dr. Polk. Oh. Dr. Polk, please come up here. I'd like to present you with, on behalf of Fort Sill, the Commanding General, the Commanding Sergeant Major, the Garrison Commander, and my Sergeant Major, we want to present you with a certificate of appreciation for all that you've done for us and all that you will continue to do. Because I know you're moving on to greater things, but I want to give you one of my personal coins, and thank you for your time, and thank you for everything, and I appreciate our time together at the meeting. You're always a great inspiration to me when you're like, I've got a solution to your problem, so thank you very much.
Very well deserved. Okay, anything else?
No other special recognitions?
All right, we have the architect and a construction manager at risk update. Not wear your hard hat.
Good evening. I guess the hard hat didn't shade me enough. I must be showing some sunburn today. Well, thank you for having us. I'm Corey Miller with AIP. Brief update on some of the projects we're wrapping up this summer. The Lawton High windows, Carriage Hills, Thomason, and Lawton High re-roofs, and Adams re-roof. Woodland Hills, Lincoln, and Adams HVAC projects are just about there. We're finishing up O&M manuals, and we'll be closing those out this summer. On the Eisenhower Middle School, Crossland will have a more in-depth update, but I wanted to see if there's any questions on the change order. That's an action item later in the agenda. That's change order number 4. That's going to include 4 items. Kitchen security closure. This was an item requested by the owner just after construction got started. Want to make sure that we've got a rolling grill that'll secure that kitchen off from the commons area. And that can be tucked away into a nice fur out right beside the opening, so it'll look very nice. Access control hardware coordination. There's a few openings we found that did not need card reader access, and we used some of that credit to provide an additional opening there at the front entryway so that all the doors can be scheduled open first thing in the morning. You can walk straight in and then automatically locked back. Overall, that's going to be a credit to the school. There are also some audio system changes. The district has a committee that's reviewing audio system components for the entire district, and so there's a couple items like the sound mixer and some microphones that we wanted to standardize so that operating would be very seamless throughout the district. So a little cost add there to switch those items out. And then slab reinforcement for the terrazzo areas. We have terrazzo floors in our main entry, the commons, and the immediate hallways right off of that. We've been monitoring cracks throughout construction to make sure they're not going to be severe enough that they'll transition through that terrazzo. We've had the manufacturer of that system out here to look at it, and he's found a couple areas where he sees evidence of some vertical movement. Basically, you know, these have separated, and then if they come back together, they push a little bit of material back up. And he is worried that that could transition through. So he's recommended, or the structural engineers looked at it and recommended some additional rebar in the slab. basically just doubling the amount of steel there in those areas. Any questions on the Eisenhower items? Yes, ma'am?
What caused the, and you're talking to someone who knows nothing about construction.
Uh-huh.
What caused the cracks, and were we anticipating them?
To a degree, yes. Because we have a structural slab, it's raised off of the ground, there's not control joints cut in the slab. So, typically for a slab, you'll have, a grid of lines cut in it. When it cracks, it's going to crack in those grids, and it's going to be concealed because it's done in a very controlled way. But with this system, you don't have those, and so if there's hairline cracks that appear, they just kind of spider out from everywhere. There's a few of these that have shown up, and they're basically caused by when the concrete cures, it contracts a little bit and it separates. But if there's any other, thermal movement or whatnot, it could push back the other way, and that's what's done it.
So this is not a surprise to you all that this happened, or is?
It's not, and it's not a structural problem.
Okay.
We did specify a slip sheet under this terrazzo flooring that would mitigate that in most circumstances. But just because we've seen a little bit of material that, and we're just talking like a little bit of dust that has gone vertical, just enough that it might crack that terrazzo. I don't want to see that in the finish. Not in a brand new building. We don't want to see that.
And I want to thank you for finding the alumni brick
Yes.
at Eisenhower Junior High Middle School, and he's going to take care of maybe putting that in somewhere in the school.
Yeah, we're going to find a spot for that in the courtyard in the middle of the school.
They were
and,
excited. It's been.
Yeah. All right, any other questions on Eisenhower? Move on to the safe rooms. We also have an action item later in the agenda on that tonight for change order number 6. So I wanted to go over those items and see if there's any questions on those while I'm here. We have 2 items on that change order. Replacing some broken windows at Almore West and Woodland Hills. Those are the tornado windows there. And then adding tempered water devices at all 7 of the safe rooms. This was a code requirement that I guess was misunderstood by our engineer. We've got point of use water heaters at each of the sinks, and so those themselves are set to 110 degrees Fahrenheit, not scalding water, but because of the language in the code, we still have to have a code-approved, listed, tested device that mixes cold and hot water there at the hot water tap and make sure it doesn't get above the scalding threshold. So an item that needs to be added was not in the original scope. We have removed any remobilization, though, for sending those trays back out to finish that work.
What was the broken window? How did that?
We've had 2 locations where BB guns have attacked our windows.
Who's attacked them?
Some kids with BB guns. So they shattered the outer pane of the window and spider cracked, the glass there. The projectile didn't go through the tornado window. There's about 1.5 inches of plastic sandwiched in there. So, but aesthetically, it's not good. So, those are about a $10,000 pane of glass because they're tornado rated. The damage happened after the school took ownership of the facilities. So, yeah, the school is responsible for replacing them. Now, Crosland had looked at it. They had it priced out, and the $10,000 price tag from the subcontractors, we were able to remove any markup from that and get it down to about $700 or $7,500. So we feel it's a good price and probably the best that can be done. We recommend having Crosland do it while they're here on board.
You bet.
Yes.
You bet. Then we can just send the bill to Larry.
He's the insurance man.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions on those? Crosby Park has reached substantial completion, and I think that form is on the agenda to be authorized later this evening. The Whittier Safe Room is underway, and the end of contract time, we expect it to be substantially complete by December 9th of 2019. The furniture package for Eisenhower Middle School is underway, and we had our 35% design review June 7th. We've got our 65% design review scheduled for July 9th. The MacArthur High Fire alarm upgrade is underway. We've got all the permits back and the shop drawings have been released. Materials have been ordered. They've been in the school the last few weeks running the wire. They've got the entire first floor done, wired with boxes. They've moved on to the second floor. They're about halfway done up there. And they plan on having the main school completely finished before summer gets back. There's a few areas they're going to hold off to the end of the summer just in case they go over, areas that hopefully they can work with students in the building. And that's the cafeteria, auditorium, gym, and the basement. So, any other questions for me?
Sounds good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, status update for you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's been a
Thank you.
crazy week, but you should have it in your packet the next one.
That's
I'll try to
right.
not have it this time.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I'll jump into the safe rooms first. I'll start with Whittier. So currently, we were looking to start moving all the portables this week on Monday. That did not happen due to just dealing with the city of Lawton permitting process, and we came across some hiccups. But we're getting that solved. We're getting through it. We should have permits on Monday, and we're scheduled to start on Monday. So that's pushed us a week. I'm not worried about that. I absolutely think we'll make that up and still be on our original timeline for Whittier. For the safe rooms, so the mixing valves, which we talked about, Corey just talked about, we have one left to install in Sullivan Village. The gas and water line should be finished tomorrow. And as far as our percent complete on our punch list items, where we should be good based on, once we get the MEP punch list back, we'll knock those out too. But Edison, we're at 95. Almar West, we're at 95. Woodland Hills, we're at 95%. Hugh Bish, 95%. Crosby Park at 90%. And Sullivan Village at 85. Both those other schools are at 85%. So our goal is we wanted to try and have them done this week. With the short week next week, we don't know if we'll get all of them done, but we are anticipating the following week to have all of those done as far as final completion. Any questions on Whittier or the safe room? All right, moving on to the middle school. Project highlights right now. We're getting into the exterior framing, and we are also moving into the interior framing within Area C. Our TPO roof is being placed. That started yesterday in Area D gym, and then they'll move to C. The masonry continues down Area B, where your music area is going to be, and on the north side of the building. So you can definitely see all those walls going up right now. Steel continues to be placed right now. We just finished out the safe room on the second deck, and they're on the second floor in between C and B, rolling through to get that done. We should be moving into decking and then starting our elevated slab as well. So concrete is starting to get into finishing up Area B, and we're starting to get into where the auditorium is going to be on Area A. So as far as, nothing's really changed as far as financial status, as far as change orders, based on what change order will happen if it does go through today and gets approved. That'll change our current contingency, and I'll update that with what the number is going to be. For the construction schedule, based on updating it 2 days ago, we're currently 17 days behind overall schedule. I think not getting crushed by the rain past couple weeks has able us to at least catch up a little bit. Not much, but a little. I'll take what I can. Targeted milestone dates. So I added a note to this. These were our original dates that we were shooting for. Due to all the rain, we will not hit these dates. It's going to get pushed back. And I can put that in the notes the next time on kind of what I'm expecting, what we will hit based on this little bit of stint where we have actually decent weather. Percent complete, we're at around 31% complete overall on the project, and our current weather days updated with June. So again, those are some of the photos I've got for you guys, and I'll try to keep that going every board meeting. So if there's no questions of me.
I only had one thing, and it'll be on our agenda a little bit later on about we'll approve to let the portable that was going to be destroyed be given to Amanda Pugh, who happens to be here. That's how does she coordinate with y'all to get? She's got somebody that's going to come do it because that's all on her. But how does she coordinate with y'all to get that?
So I know Corey's been talking to me about this, and we were thinking it's going to happen no later than after the 4th. Right now we have a giant line that's going through the middle of the site right now for electric. So once that's filled in, then we can absolutely start coordinating that. And I don't mind if she talks directly to me. I don't know who you are, but
That's everything.
I don't mind if you talk directly to me. That's fine. I can
If I can
give you my
interject
email.
here, she would be corresponding with Don McCaig, and then he'll be
Perfect.
working with you.
That'll
Okay.
That work? Okay.
That was the arrangement that we talked about earlier.
sounds good.
Sounds perfect. Well,
Yeah,
thank you.
And then
Appreciate
we'll
it.
accommodate as much as we can to get it done.
Well, of course, and I appreciate that very much.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys. No more questions? Okay.
Question, maybe Barbara. Does our police force work in the summer?
Yes.
And are they patrolling these schools where the BB guns were?
Not all of them are working during the summer. Some of them are working during the summer. They do patrol and examine buildings, but so does our facilities force, workforce. And in order to be a little more proactive, we've had cameras installed at a couple of places to try to prevent some of the vandalism that goes on. So we've got a couple of things in place there.
It's excellent.
And the cameras actually helped us catch the 2 individuals responsible for what's
Oh,
happened
we
so far.
caught them?
Yeah.
So they can pay.
Well, and as we saw, I think it was in Edmond that had somebody, or someone in the city where they had someone actually break in. I mean, they've got cameras everywhere. You're not going to prevent them if they really want to do damage.
And since we're early in construction on Whittier, we're looking at pricing to switch that back to a regular window with a tornado shutter door behind it. So they'll be less expensive to replace if this were to happen again.
Okay. Thank you.
Is that as sturdy?
Yes, that's actually our old solution before these tornado-rated windows were on the market.
Okay.
And, basically you had a thermal window plus the tornado-hardened door that during a storm you would shut that over the window. Now, those 2 pieces together used to be the same price as buying one of the tornado windows.
Gotcha.
But the tornado windows have kept climbing, as we saw with Eisenhower and then with Whittier. And so it should actually be a cost savings this time around.
To do that? Okay. Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Corey.
Yeah, have a good evening.
Okay.
You can't leave.
Departmental reports. Okay. Moving along. Departmental reports.
We're not out of here. We're still here.
We're still here.
On our information items, you have the business operations and ed services reports, if you have any questions on any of those. Okay. Our next item is an information item, and A.J. Watson will present to you cybersecurity updates.
Good evening, board members. Thank you for the opportunity to share some of the proactive measures that my team and I have been working on over the past year. We've been researching and implementing some new things to safeguard not only our data and our network, but also, our students and the access to sites that they have and the materials. As you know, both physical security and cybersecurity were on my board Big Rocks sheet from last year. This was and continues to be a hot topic for my team and I. And my network administrator have lost a few hours of sleep worrying that we're going to be the next victim of a cyber attack. So he and I have had many talks about keeping the school district safe, and we agree that we can't have the mindset of, well, what if this happens to us? And so we want to be thinking, what are we going to do? How are we going to respond when this does happen to us? And this shared mindset comes from the reality that Oklahoma City Public Schools and the city of Lawton were hit really hard within the past couple of years by cyber attacks. So I have 4 components that I'd like to share with you, and you have that little handout there, and it may kind of mention a few of those, but it really goes into detail that I don't want to share tonight because, as Lynn told me, a lot of that's just boring to hear.
No, what you meant was we probably wouldn't understand it.
I wasn't going to say that. So the first one is GoGuardian Teacher, and this is a tool that we actually started using in January whenever we purchased the Chromebooks. So GoGuardian Teacher is it's a classroom management tool that allows the teachers to lock down or redirect the students to pay attention to the lesson that they're trying to achieve during that hour. So far, the feedback that I've had from teachers is it's great, and in fact, we only had done it for the secondary schools, and this summer we're going to include the elementary schools, so they're really excited about that as well. The next one is GoGuardian Admin from the same company, and GoGuardian Admin will be our new content filter. And we've really been looking forward to moving to a new content filter. Some of the features that GoGuardian Admin has, smart alerts, and just we can track what websites students are going to and what educational websites, so we can even print out a report and give it to the principals. These are the softwares that you're using, these are the ones you're paying for and you're not using, you might want to revisit that. It's a cloud-based solution that continuously filters content down to the millisecond level. And well, what does that mean? Well, if we're using Google Docs, which is basically Microsoft Word in the cloud, you should be able to get to that. But what if the kids have some bad words or some bad images? Well, now we know and we can lock that down.
That's through GoGuardian?
That's GoGuardian Admin. And so GoGuardian Teacher is so that the teachers can control, and GoGuardian Admin is at the district level, and we can kind of manage what sites are accessed.
What were we using before that?
Before that, we were using Smoothwall. And it is a content filter,
Okay.
but it's not as good.
Not as good? Okay. Awesome.
The third one I'd like to talk about is our new firewall, and since you brought it up, Smoothwall was our content filter and our firewall, and now we'll have two separate solutions for that. And Palo Alto is a next-gen firewall. This next-gen tag I have for a few items on here, but basically it provides additional tools beyond the traditional firewall, blocking ports and protocols. Gives us more tools to keep the bad stuff out. That's the gist of it. And the fourth and final one is CrowdStrike, and this is the solution that will ensure that a breach does not occur. I was just talking about our next-gen firewall. Well, this is the next-gen antivirus. And so on the little data sheet, it really spells out a lot of that stuff. I hope that you can understand more of it than I can. No, I'm just kidding. But, CrowdStrike will protect our computers against known and unknown attacks. There's this thing called a zero-day attack, where nobody's ever seen this kind of attack before, and they don't know to be prepared for it. This will run that kind of in a sandbox, and if it's on any computer on our network, it'll lock it down and contain it right then, and it can't spread.
There we have one.
My network admin and I, since pushing this out, we are sleeping a lot more soundly. So, CrowdStrike tries to align with the 1, 10, and 60 rule, and what that is the best defended organizations aim to meet these three metrics, where it's 1 minute to detect it, 10 minutes to investigate, and 60 minutes to remediate and contain. And so by implementing the CrowdStrike solution, Lawton Public Schools will have a combination of technology and tool sets that aligns to the 1, 10, and 60. And one last little note, GoGuardian Admin and CrowdStrike, they work great within our network, but they also work off of our network. Our teachers take laptops home.
I have a
Maybe in the
Chromebook.
future, students will take Chromebooks home. We can monitor and manage the security for those devices off network as well.
Okay, great.
So, have any questions for me? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, AJ.
Okay. See?
The next item is the open transfer applications for 1920, and I believe you have that under separate cover.
Yes.
It is from Mark Mattingly. It is an annual report. Are there any questions about that? Okay.
Move for approval.
Second?
Call roll, please.
Ms. Bradley? Yes. Ms. Clodfelter?
Yes.
Ms. Nyworth?
Yes.
Ms. Edwards?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
Under item 6D, these are proposals on policies, and they come from my office. The first one is policy EBA, school hours, and will actually give you the school hours as a result of our transportation changes. And so these are to be published every year, and this is for the FY20 school year. The second one is for school day, the same kind of information. School hours are printed for that particular policy EC. On policy FDCR1, we had one small bit of information added under item 3 with principal approval, and this is information to be added for clarification.
Okay.
One question.
Go ahead.
On this immediate family, what are we talking about there, Barbara?
The immediate family in our student attendance piece of information, people that are in the household in that particular family,
But it wouldn't be grandparents or an aunt or an uncle? Or
unless they're in the household.
Okay.
If the grandparent is the guardian, then that's the immediate family.
Okay.
Are there any other questions?
I'd like to move for approval of all 3 items listed under 6D.
I'll second. Call the roll, please.
Ms. Bradley?
Yes.
Ms. Clodfelter?
Yes.
Ms. Nyworth?
Yes.
Ms. Edwards?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
Under item 6E, action item on the LPS athletic field fencing, Jeremy Tanner has included information for you. Mr. Tanner?
Good evening, board. Thank you for allowing me to give you an update. Does everyone have a updated scope of work? Great. Okay. As you can see, I'd like to go over the main purpose there is to repair, replace, and install new fencing structures surrounding LPS athletic fields and sites. This was a project that predated me. We picked this back up. I contacted CEC Corporation to get an updated proposal and scope of work, and we have since filtered that. I would like to point out underneath the proposed total just some highlights regarding the backstops and some of the athletic fencing. That will be a mesh. It's a cost savings, yet it still has a nice aesthetic to it. You've probably seen it in some professional baseball backstops, for instance, where they have that black mesh that catches foul balls and things like that. That's what's being proposed in this particular scope of work. If you see that within the schematics that we'll look at in just a moment. Some of the key features on each of the following pages, if you look at the plans, are within the legends. But what I like to do is if you would turn 2 pages over. At the bottom right, you will see it says sheet C1.0. That's the sheet that I'll be referring to just as an example. It'd be 2 pages past the cover page, I believe. You'll see there at the end of your sheet, at the very bottom right, says C1.0. Next to that, it'll give you the site that we're talking about, Lawton High School. And then next to it on the left, you'll see your legend where you can see where there's existing fence, proposed fence, and so on. On this particular page, you'll see in the middle of the schematic, C sheet C1.1 for details, Alt 1.1. So if you were to go to the next page over, that is C1.1 with that alt in an expanded view. So these are adds, basically. When we went through the original scope of work, these were things that were either at one time taken out, added back in, or added in as a new alternative, for instance. And this is the track you see and the parameter fence that would be installed. So as you're going through these, those legends will have those specifics within it so that you can see what it was not in the original scope of work and give that consideration. Now, the alternatives are itemized as far as pricing is concerned on the very back page. So underneath the item, you see the base bid of $520,825.75. And the alt that I just showed you there for Lawton High School is that one underneath it. So as you were, perusing the document, looking at the scope of work, that's how that's itemized out. And then at the end of the day, that's how we have the total with all the alternates, of $771,000, $895.93. After filtering through this, we did, just as a line item, the tennis court refurbishment is not included in this. This is athletic fencing. We wanted to keep the actual court refurbishment for the tennis court separate, as a separate project, for consistency's purposes and for control purposes. So, do you have any questions for me?
How does this compare with what was allocated?
I believe, and I had some conversations with Ms. Ellis, that I believe the original proposal was around $650,000.
Yes.
There's approximately 3 alternates that were added to this proposal that was not on that proposal. But that is the span of 650 approximately to the 771,000. Now, these alternates can still be filtered through again if we want to look at and go, well, this is not necessary for now. If we want to phase it out differently, we can do that. But I did want to get something updated for you so that we can get on the same page together.
Who did the alternates? Where did those come from? Where did the additional?
That is CEC Corporation. They're the basically the engineering firm responsible for the design and the scope of work right here out of Oklahoma City. They were the ones originally, by the way, that did the first.
So we're not, this is more of an information item, we're not really expected to act on it tonight?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Great. So if we were to decide that we want to keep most of these alternates or part of them, where would the extra money come from?
The extra money would be allocated through any of our leftover monies that we have. It was not included in the bond, and I don't have an exact answer for you at this point, but Ms. Brownhill has looked at that, and there will be further discussions.
Right.
And have our coaches and our principals and things at each site, have they had a chance to kind of look at this and see?
I've spoken with 2 different schools, and basically, honestly, that came out of questions about, they had questions to me about what's going to be done about
Right.
the fence, and I said, well, that's timely because we're looking at this right now. Other than that, we haven't had an official, I haven't reached out to them officially with this plan.
What about our athletic director?
Me and him have not spoken in detail about it yet.
Okay.
What's the timeline on a project like this? When do you expect to start and finish?
Theoretically, if we were, let's just say, it was approved today for some reason, we'd need enough time to put the contract, of course, out for bid, and once that's completed, 3 to 4 months.
Okay.
That's perfect scenario.
Well, and we probably couldn't do Eisenhower High School until we finished the middle school.
This is true. And there may be a couple of those situations in there too.
You will talk to those different entities before this comes to a vote?
I sure will.
Okay.
This project was started before the Eisenhower Middle School project was started.
Yeah.
So there are some other conversations to be had, but we wanted to make sure that you were aware, because our coaches and our ADs at the schools are getting a little anxious.
Yes, they are.
So we needed to push this forward if possible.
Well, I noticed, Barbara, that we have it as a action item.
Yes.
Is it just?
It is an information item, and I neglected to state that.
Okay.
Information item.
Okay.
That's great, though.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item, 6F, is also listed as an action item, but it is an information item as well. Mr. Cook is available if you have questions, but we were asked as a department to put together proposals for incentives to be able to attract drivers, and these are they. And if you would like Mr. Cook to come to the podium, he can answer your questions if you have any.
Please. Of course, as a board, we always look at that district cost, of course. But what do you feel like on the incentive with the pay increase, the 31st 1A? And I'm sorry if I jumped ahead of anybody, I didn't mean to.
can't read it anyway.
Oh, I'm sorry, I can. What do you feel like, or do you feel like that's a good draw, is what my question is on this?
Well, yes, and where the number came from was looking at the different companies, surrounding companies that we compete with for employees, and looking at what they pay and trying to put together a number through our pay scale that would be equitable and would be able to draw people. And so that's where that number came from.
Yeah, I'd like to steal some bus drivers from the surrounding area. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, okay, thank you. That's what I just wondered if we thought that would be real competitive or not. Okay.
Any more questions?
I appreciate y'all working on this and doing this. This is great.
Do you find that, that a lot of people are reluctant to spend the money to try to take the tests? I think that's going to help quite a bit.
I do think it would be positive for us because it's, I think it's a culmination of a lot of things, and I think taking that out of the equation will only be a benefit for LPS.
Yeah. So hopefully we have more people that are willing to try.
Absolutely.
If we're going to reimburse them.
If we can't get them into our classes, then it's tough for us to get them as employees. So that is the first step, yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So this is in alignment with what some of the surrounding districts are paying, or it's higher than, or?
It is higher than some and less than others. Mm-hmm. And the surrounding and as far as just in the Lawton area, it goes from $11 to $12.50. Then surrounding areas, they go from $10 to $16. But it's hard to compare apples to apples because some of them are 1 hour contracts, some are 2 hour contracts, and it's just kind of all over the board. So what I looked at was LATS, and I looked at Soldier Express, and looked at those two and came up with this number to be able to put forward.
Would it be possible to find out like what some of our surrounding districts are paying their bus drivers?
And I do have some of that information, yes.
Okay.
So, but we're one of the largest in this area, so we're not. It's hard to compare because some of them, they don't have the 3 hour or the combined routes. They'll carry high school, middle school, and elementary all together, those things, and the average time of their routes. So there's a lot of things that go into it. But as far as financially, that's as far as our area here in Lawton. That was a number that came up that would be positive for us.
Let me ask, how would you like that information? Would you like it verbally now if he has that, or would you like to have it as a written copy?
I mean,
This is information.
Yes.
You could send it to us.
Yeah, I think written would be good.
I think written's
Just
fine.
email it to us.
That'll work.
Do our bus drivers get full benefits like a normal full-time employee?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Is this budgeted money already?
I do not have the answer.
No, it is not.
No, it'd be
It is not budgeted in our salary schedule at this time. I'm sure that Mr. Cook will be back in July to talk to you again, no doubt about it.
Well,
And then Elizabeth's got to find the money.
And Mary, where's what has come from, with some of the questions that we had asked at earlier board meetings, and that you had just tried to gather information of some of the things that we had thrown out that we were wanting, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cook. In my absence, I give you permission to ask him any questions that you want to. You can start Monday.
They're all on the line, aren't they?
Okay. Under the report of the superintendent, I do not have a report for you.
No announcements, okay. Consent agenda, do we need anything removed from the consent agenda?
Yes.
Greetings, how are you?
Hi.
It's good to see you. If it pleases the board, I would like to pull item 8G5.
Okay.
Under ongoing contracts, my rationale is I would like to have perusal from Dr. Thomas. I want him to maybe slow this down just a little bit and let him have time to come on board and to review that and look at that. So that's 8G5. You'd find it, it'd be second from the bottom. It is the Xerox Corp Excel contract.
Okay.
So I'd like to have that removed if you're.
So understand we can go month to month until we decide what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
Yes, I would like to remove, for separate discussion, under 8D4, bids and quotes, page 68, pest control.
I'll move for the balance of the consent agenda.
Second.
Call roll, please.
Ms. Bradley?
Yes.
Ms. Claude Felter?
Yes.
Ms. Nyworth? Yes. Ms. Edwards?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes. Chuck, can I ask a question? Is it necessary for us to make a motion to authorize the district to pay the copier contracts on a monthly basis?
At this point, in the interim, I think to make sure there's authorization in the record that would authorize the payment in the interim, I think it would be appropriate to go ahead and consider such a motion.
I'd like to make that motion.
Second.
Call roll, please.
Ms. Bradley?
Yes.
Ms. Claude Felter?
Yes.
Ms. Nyworth?
Yes.
Ms. Edwards?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes. And then the reason I pulled the pest control contract is I understand that in that, the recommendation from staff is to take the bid that is not the lower bid. The lower bid happens to be a local company as well, and I appreciate the rationale that was given, but at the same time, I feel it's important that we give local companies an opportunity, especially if they haven't not performed or not been given the opportunity in the past, especially in light of the fact that they were a bit lower. It's not a significant amount, but I think it's always in the district's best interest to use as many local contractors as possible.
I agree.
So therefore, I make a motion that we accept the lower bid from Lawton Pest and Termite Control.
Second.
Call roll.
Mr. Jester, if I can point out also, what I would consider, and remember, we've always had this 5% preferential in effect for local vendors, and that's not even taken into consideration here.
Call roll.
Ms. Bradley?
Yes.
Ms. Claude Felter?
Yes.
Ms. Nyworth?
Yes.
Ms. Edwards?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
Okay, moving along. Yep, I've got to get down there. I know I'm the one that's scrolling like mad. Okay, do we have need for an executive session?
Yes, we do have a
Okay.
need for an executive
Move
session.
for executive session.
Second.
Wait a minute. Thank you, Kathy. It happens to be, I get lost on this scrolling.
Well, and mine's not online, so I
Who made the motion?
Call roll.
Ms. Claude Felter?
Yes.
Ms. Nyworth?
Yes.
Ms. Bradley?
Yes.
Ms. Edwards?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll get through it. We're gonna need about 5 minutes.
I'm looking at her.
Motion to return.
Second?
Call roll, please.
Ms. Bradley?
Yes.
Ms. Clodfelter?
Yes.
Ms. Nyworth? Yes. Ms. Edwards?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
Okay, statement of executive session minutes. The Board of Education went into executive session at 5:45 PM. Members present included Carla Clodfelter, President, Patty Nyworth, Vice President, Kelly Edwards, Mary Bradley, and Kent Jester. Others present included Barbara Ellis, Assistant Superintendent of Business Operations, who stepped out at 6 PM, Chuck Wade, LPS School Attorney, and Dr. Ken Baden, Interim Chief Operating Officer. Items discussed included the employing, promoting, or receiving resignation of individual certified and support salaried personnel as listed on the Certified and Support Personnel Reports, Interim Executive Director of Secondary Education, Elementary Principals, Middle School Assistant Principal 10-month, Middle School Assistant Principal 12-month, duties and responsibilities of the Interim Chief Operating Officer. During the executive session, the board discussed these items and no other items, and no action was taken. The board returned to open session at 6:30 PM. This constitutes the minutes of the executive session.
On item 9B, the interim executive director of secondary education, the proposal is for Rick Owens to return to Lawton Public Schools in that position.
Make a motion to accept.
Second.
Call roll.
Ms. Clodfelter?
Yes.
Ms. Bradley?
Yes.
Ms. Edwards?
Yes.
Ms. Nyworth?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
For item 9C, elementary principal, the recommendation is Amy Wilcox.
Move for approval.
Second.
Call the roll, please. You're fine.
Ms. Clodfelter?
Yes.
Ms. Nyworth?
Yes.
Ms. Edwards?
Yes.
Ms. Bradley?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
For middle school assistant principal, the proposal is for Roderick Samuel.
Move for approval.
Second.
Call roll.
I'm sorry, who was the second?
I was.
Ms. Clodfelter?
Yes.
Ms. Bradley?
Yes.
Ms. Nyworth?
Yes.
Ms. Edwards?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
And for item 9E, middle school assistant principal 12-month, Anthony Terrell.
Move for approval.
Second.
Call roll, please.
Ms. Clodfelter?
Yes.
Ms. Nyworth?
Yes.
Ms. Bradley?
Yes.
Ms. Edwards?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
Did you do personnel reports?
Oh,
we
we
Not
did
yet.
not.
Not yet.
We skipped them.
Yeah, we kind of skipped over those.
Well, we'll do them now.
13A, yeah.
Here we go back.
Thank you, Denise.
For item 9A, the employing, promoting,
No,
or
wait,
receiving.
13A.
13A. You did the same thing I did. I was up too high, too. That's why we
Okay.
missed it.
See, I'm
It's-
going round and round.
Everything should have been 13, but other than that, all the letters were correct.
I'll move for approval of the personnel reports.
Second.
Who was second?
Kelly.
I'm sorry, I cannot recognize your voice.
We need to say our name.
Call roll, please.
Ms. Bradley?
Yes.
Ms. Clodfelter?
Yes.
Ms. Nyworth?
Yes.
Ms. Edwards?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
Okay.
And then item 13F, consideration and action, if any, regarding the duties and responsibilities of the interim chief operating officer.
We don't have
We
any
have
action.
no action on that. Okay, is there any new business? Okay, I think we have, well, our next regular board meeting, of course, Thursday, July the 18th here, Shoemaker at 5 PM. Do we need any other board dates set?
Nope.
Okay, and I believe we have some board announcements.
School districts are a lot of brick and mortar, a lot of buildings, but school districts are relationships. We need to encourage relationships, pats on the back. I've been fortunate for the last 3 weeks to have Barbara and Jamie, who've meant a whole lot to me, not only for the last 3 weeks, but for the relationship that I've had with them all these years. I addressed Jamie the other day as Dr. Jamie, urban educator, Polk. I don't know what goes through your mind when you think about going to urban and begin tackling some of the issues that's up there. Jamie, I appreciate and love you so much. I hope that this next chapter in your life and profession is all that you hope to be. I wish you nothing but success, love, joy, peace, and happiness, and I know that they're going to be glad that you're there. I look forward to all the great things you're going to do. Appreciate you so much. When I left, Barbara sat in my chair, and Barbara called me a lot. Because I guess I called the one before. So I deserved it. I deserved it. And I told her in my own little, probably passive way, dear, you're going to have to fly the seat of your pants sometimes, and you'll get it done.
Really, that's not what you said.
I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say what's more politically correct. So after a while, she took care of things and
well received.
flew on her own. Barbara, it's been a joy working with you for a lot of years. People mentor others, and you've been one of my mentors. And so I appreciate all you've done for me and what you've done for this district. You are a true gem. And I know what you're going to be doing. You're going to be a lot of grandkids and such. I love you very much, and I hope that this next chapter is nothing but joy and peace and fun and Disneyland and cotton candy and all those things.
Thank you. She's the one going to Disney.
Yes, very, very well said, Dr. Baden. I can't speak to either one of them. I'll cry. So that's it. All right. Okay, do we have a motion?
Well, I just want to thank Dr. Baden. We've thanked him in private, but we need to thank you publicly, Ken Baden, for doing this job for us. We appreciate it more than you will ever know.
Amen.
Okay, now do we have
I move we adjourn.
have a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Bradley?
Yes.
Ms. Clodfelter?
Yes.
Ms. Nyworth?
Yes.
Ms. Edwards?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
I guess so.
I don't think I can get my suitcase up the stairs.
I know, but